Roll.
All right, welcome to the Fantasy Playoffs. This is the Fantasy Trail, Season 3, Episode 16, Two Men and a Haley. Of course, I'm Matt, along with...
JT here.
And the Haley.
All right, so Scarano could not join us tonight. He was a little bit busy. I don't know if he was just day drinking or what. He said he had something else going on. Not quite sure. So Haley was happy enough to join us today. And let's get right into it. Haley, what matchup do you want to look at first?
I think mine and yours was a pretty good one to start with.
It was a pretty good one.
Just turning everything on its head. I love it.
All right, let's go. What do we want to say about this matchup, Haley? You kicked my butt.
I mean, you had 2 losses this year, and one of them was to me. I felt pretty good about it.
Yeah, my first losing streak.
Yeah. Going into playoffs, too.
And but you know what really killed me about our matchup, was stupid Adrian Peterson.
Oh, that was so annoying. I should have had the high score this week.
He
you
90-yard run.
Very different place there.
Scored a touchdown and then had 8 yards for the rest of the day.
Yep. And especially when they put in Sanchez. I was like, oh, they're just going to run it the whole game now. Nope.
Well, I mean, in the end, Tamal, it was very inconsequential outside of morale for your team. But for Rachel, this was of great importance. Outside, I know you want to win top score, but you were trying to sneak into the playoffs here.
Yeah.
You were on the outside looking in last week, needed a good score, put up the second best score in the league, and easily passed Rich to sneak in there.
Yeah.
So that was huge. I mean, AP aside, it was Mahomes, it was Godwin going nuts again. It was Woods having a really nice game. I mean, top to bottom, good score. Tamala, you can't be that disappointed. 150 a win most weeks, but Rach taking it up. Big comeback.
No, I was pumped about it.
You are officially the first person to take advantage of the points vaulting the top or the final two teams in. And I mean, you were 5-8.
I like that rule, though. It made it more interesting at the end of the season, I felt like.
Now, you know what I would have been interested to see is if we had kept divisions, if that would have changed it at all.
Yeah, I don't know. Last year we didn't have any change, and I don't know if that was because of the divisions, but I doubt it because I'm not sure it makes a huge difference anyway.
Well, I mean, I guess it really depends on who's in your division and who's not.
I think it would have mattered more into the schedule, and I think the schedule is something we have to take a look at. But lots to talk about in the offseason, but for the time being, we still got some big-time playoffs. Tamala, your team's going to need a bye.
Yeah, I'm going to need a bye. All right, let's move on. Let's move on to the only game that didn't have playoff implications, although it did have trophy implications. And that's Angela putting up the high score of the week, just beating down Colin.
With a 0 combined for both teams' tight ends.
Yeah.
And a 0 from a kicker.
I don't know what to say about this.
And it all came down to Monday night, too.
And that's with Russell Wilson almost putting up a 30 and Gurley putting up a 31.5.
And Angela losing her best player to a domestic violence cut 4 days earlier. She put up her best score.
I didn't realize Angela put up the high score until Mike Vemoed out the winnings for the week.
Really? I think Rachel was on that.
Like 4 a.m. Tuesday. I was like, did I do it? No, stupid Golden Tate.
Yeah. That was the other thing. Tate had a combined 19 points, maybe 20 in his 3 games in Philly, and he puts up 24.
Yep.
But the only thing I'll say about Tate is they were targeting him. He wasn't doing much with it. He wasn't catching it, but he was getting like 10 targets a game.
Yeah.
He just happened to catch them all this week.
Yeah, and I mean, it really was, as much as Tate was great, it was Keenan Allen.
Yeah.
What a game for him! 14 catches, my goodness.
And
but
19 points from a kicker. You don't expect 19 points out of a kicker. It's not 21.
Yeah,
but
personally, I expect 21, but we'll say goodbye to both these teams. This is going to knock out some really big players from the fantasy playoffs. It's astounding to me that Gurley won't be in. I mean, with the season he had, that's crazy that he won't be in the playoffs.
And with Angela putting up the 160 and getting the win, I believe that means she's in 11th place, which means Brian is in charge of the 20, in charge of the trophy. $20 in materials.
Slight correction there. Angela vaulted to 10th place with that win. She vaulted to 10th by tying Rich, and Rich lost to her in the head-to-head they played this year. So Rich and Brian will be the pizza purchasers, and Rich and Brian are our final two positions. Angela has vaulted to 10th.
Okay, so but with the trophy, that's just last place, right?
It is, but if we're still doing the pizza, it's the final two.
Okay.
Did we eliminate the pizza, or do we just?
No, we all like pizza. Rachel, you like pizza, right?
I do like pizza. Yeah.
I mean, it's a pretty minor one, all in all. But the trophy, which I get the feeling Brian is hard at work at right now.
Oh, without a doubt, guys.
I can only imagine.
I'm tinkering away on it right now.
I can only imagine the level of Browns paraphernalia that will be involved. Yeah, that's going to be strange to say goodbye to those two. A couple really big names with Allen, Hunt, Gurley, the Bears thing that was just going great for Colin for a while. Colin just got bit real hard by the injury bug with McKinnon.
So when you say he had too many Bears on his team?
Goldilocks would agree.
All right, let's move on to another game that did not matter that much, and that would be well, actually, it mattered, but in the long run, it didn't. And that was Rich taking on Jake. And Rich just used points, and he put up the low score of the week.
Possibly one of the lower scores of the year. Sadly, I think Brian beat him with a lower one, but I mean, wow. Rich had been pretty consistently, doing all right. He was in the playoffs. What a letdown for him.
And I mean, you look at him, you look at Breeze, and he has Matt Ryan on his bench. The Gordon injury absolutely killed him.
Gordon was
amazing this year. I mean, he'll be a top 5 back in fantasy even if he misses the rest of the year.
Yeah, that was a really rough one. He got stuck with the Cook Murray juggling act. He never settled on like good flex player for that final spot. I don't know.
Cooper hurt him. I mean, Cooper's been great as of late, but early in the season, killing him.
Weird too, both quarterbacks, 8.3 and 9 points.
Super weird because they were both highly ranked, like the number 2 and number 3 quarterbacks, and they both bomb.
Yeah.
And then, actually, Jake had a pretty terrible week too, except for Kelsey.
I was going to say, everyone else didn't even hit double digits besides a couple people.
And I kind of wonder if going forward, if Kelsey's going to get more of the short passing game that was going to Hunt. So is this something we can expect to continue for Kelsey for the rest of the season?
I wonder if Jake's a little worried. I mean, he's looking like he's going to not have Breda. I know he gets a week for maybe to get him back.
So he did get.
I don't know. Eckler didn't really pan out. I'm sure New Orleans won't do that again. So Thomas and Ingram will probably be better, but
but
he doesn't have a good quarterback situation. I would not feel good with Cousins or Mariota.
Yeah.
No consistency there. But you know what? He's happy. He's resting. He gets a bye. I'd trade places with him in a heartbeat.
All right. Let's move on to the Michael Thomas taking on Joel. And Michael Thomas goes down, which is not something we've been able to say very often. But right. Joel beats him 135 to 111.
I will say I looked back, too, on the past few weeks. When we do rankings, I feel like Joel has a stronger team than Michael Thomas's team. She's put out better scores than him the past couple weeks.
Yeah, I mean, Michael's taken distinct advantage with some timely waiver picks. Yeldon when Fournette went out. He grabbed Edwards.
Right.
He grabbed Marlon Mack when he came back and turned into a much better player. And a few of those guys really let him down. Whereas I think Joelle, that's not her strong suit. She's maybe had one or two strong waiver picks, but most of the time she doesn't even use the wire. And my worry going forward for her is that she's got a really good base team, but with Green going down, I'm not sure who she puts in there. And with her not using the wire, I don't know. I worry a little bit, but who am I? She had a better year than I did, so.
Yeah.
Rogers will do.
I think the thing with Michael's team, especially early on in the year, he put up some huge scores, and he got out to the big lead in the standings. So we just kind of kept him with it. But I think all of I'll put the top three teams, myself, Jake, and Michael Thomas. I think we've seen our play overall go down these last couple weeks in the season.
Michael is going to be especially searching for a tight end. I mean,
right now he's running with Evans, I believe. How'd that work out for you, JT?
Oh, you mean Ingram?
Yeah.
Oh, he was awful. He was so bad I dropped him.
Yeah. But you know what? He definitely has the two best wide receivers, the combo in fantasy.
Brown, I mean, maybe three if you put Adams in there.
Oh, I was including Adams because you know what? I think Adams has like 11 touchdowns.
Adams is the number 2 receiver. Antonio Brown is the number 4 receiver, and Tyreek Hill is the number 1 receiver. No, 3.
We're putting up a 6.
So he's got the 2, 3, 4.
Yeah,
that's pretty crazy. That's his year right there. Smart in the PPR league. He got 3 huge names.
Yeah.
And
but he's just got
showed in his record. Although Joelle, great week by her and cemented her spot in the playoffs.
Yeah, and she deserved it with this season she had going with points. I mean, it wasn't much of a contest once she put up a couple points. Just a few she was in. Her points for were way up there. I mean, she ended up only behind the top 3 teams.
Yep. All right, let's move on to our next matchup, and that was Scarano taking on Casey. Scarano loses 116 to 127.
What a letdown.
And that's with a 31 from McCaffrey, who's ridiculous when you think about it. He's put up 75 points the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, up to the number 3 back in the league. We kind of teased him for that pick. I know I did, at least in the beginning of the year, and I've really eaten my words on that. He has turned it into a star.
Yeah, and his week could have been real different. Michelle had that one touchdown that was overturned. Have you heard anything about Julio Jones? Well, I guess it doesn't matter.
No, but I'll tell you what. I know that he did not have a game in single digits. He did not have a game below 11. And honestly, he had not had a game below 17 since week 6.
Yep.
And somehow he dropped to 4. I know Baltimore's got a good secondary, but my God, that was awful. Julio and Ridley just destroyed his week. I needed him to win. And if he had won, if he had pulled it out, which it wasn't that far off, 10 points is not much. If he had pulled it off, I was in.
Yeah.
I'm let down.
Ebron puts up a big game for him.
Yeah, I don't think if I'm Casey, I'm that thrilled. I think he's rightfully kind of said, I backed into this. His bench is awful. None of his starters are really superstars outside of maybe Kamara. And
yeah, but I would say Ebron's probably a top 5 tight end for the rest of the year.
Yeah, all right. Ebron's great for the position, but Kamara and Smith-Schuster are the only 2 players that anybody's feeling great about on his team.
Well, his big thing is Pittsburgh, how Pittsburgh plays. If Pittsburgh plays well, he does great. If not, he doesn't.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like he could go down. I'm happy that that's who Joel's playing in the first round.
Shots fired.
Oh yeah, absolutely. If I could pick any squad for her to play, this would be it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Moving
I
on.
think any team would feel that way. I think he's got the weakest team going into the playoffs, and I think he'd be the first to admit it.
And let's go with our last matchup. And I believe that was your matchup against Brian. And JT, you win. You win this week 133.5 over Brian. We put up a 106. But you do not make the playoffs.
That's what I hear.
Friendly reminder, the whole points
I don't know if you guys heard any of this.
our idea.
Wait, yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Look, and you had a good game from Lindsay, good game from Beckham, good game from Landry, good game from Hooper, and a great game from your defense.
Mm-hmm.
Luck absolutely killed you.
Didn't matter. I was fine. I don't think I mentioned that Luck was doing poorly on Sunday, so I don't know if you guys noticed that, but
I heard you say like one or two things about it briefly.
whatever.
But now, JT, what's your record over the last 6 weeks?
I finished winning 6 of my last 8 games. I was 2-5 or 2-3. I don't know, whatever it is.
That's such a gut punch.
Yeah. I mean, it sucks, but my points were never great. Like, I am a prime candidate for somebody that had a good record but didn't deserve the record he had. I would be the number one person that I would be railing against for the Pythagorean scoring. So in essence, I gotta take that, and I'll be the big man about it. I'll admit it. I didn't deserve to make the playoffs. I would have happily snuck in over Casey, but I didn't deserve it based on my points that I was putting up. My record was good, but I kept sneaking out these little wins, like barely beating Joel by less than 1 that one time, and beating Scarano when he has a bad week, and just kind of sneaking them in here and there. So it's okay. I think if you gave me Fournette for a lot of the year, it'd be a better end game. But the same thing could be said with Brian and Bell. Give him Bell for the year, and he's got a much better record.
And I don't understand Brian's team, because I still look at Brian's team, and I like it. I don't think it's a bad team. I definitely don't think it's the worst team in the league.
No, but if you look at those guys, there was never a time when they were all clicking.
No, absolutely not. And but Brian is there, and a lot of his team now is through waiver pickups and
3 defenses.
Yeah, listen, he remained active, and he ended up with Adams and Aaron Jones that could have been really good going forward.
Whoa. Aaron Jones draft.
Okay, that seems important.
Took him the full season to get going.
Fair enough. But, I really love his loyalty to Traquan Smith. I think that's impressive. It's not often a guy could put up back-to-back zeros for you, but
But I mean, Diggs has been hurt. He's the number 11 receiver. I mean, Gronk's been hurt.
Galladay really emerged, especially after they traded Tate. He had a good start to the year, but they couldn't put it together. Finally finds a quarterback, and it's a little late. Couldn't figure out Winston Watson sometimes. I don't know. I don't think his team matches with his record, but it's the same exact thing that happened to Scarano. The last 2 years, the top pick that has gone out for the entire year has ended up in last place. That makes sense.
Should we be able to trade picks?
No. I don't like it. I find it to be a complex level of future that can really destroy the competitive balance going forward.
Okay, so I'm not saying trade picks in the future. Trade picks at the draft.
I don't think that's ever been banned. But how do you do that?
I will give you my first round pick, and I get your 3rd, 4th, and 5th round pick.
Toronto has offered that exact trade, I think, 7 years in a row.
But I don't think we could do that.
I don't think there was ever anybody that accepted it.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It would lead to you having some empty rounds at the end of the draft.
Just something to think about.
Yeah, I don't know. It's such a make or break for your season. You know, you get lucky with somebody like, no offense, that's not luck, but Saquon didn't realize maybe he was going to be that good, and then you look at somebody like David Johnson last year, Bell this year, Fournette this year, and that's pretty disastrous.
Yeah. All right. We ready for rankings?
Yeah, bring them on. I think the playoffs kind of bear them out a little more this year.
You're gonna love this presentation, JT.
Makes me feel just the opposite.
All right. Pre-playoffs. All right. So these are the losers out of the playoffs.
I feel like that could be worded differently, but okay.
The losers who are terrible at fantasy.
Yeah, thank you. There it is.
All right. Brian and Trophy Maker. Angela, Colin, Rich, JT, and Scarano. So something
that's rankings, not standings, right?
Yes, these are rankings.
I find that to be absurd that I'm behind Scarano. Go ahead.
I just wanted to point out that JT is behind Scarano. All right. So next,
not even wearing the plushie mask for it.
So next we have Casey. He comes in 6th. What are we thinking about his team? Like you said you thought he was the weakest team.
Yeah,
bear that out.
I think both Scarano or I could have made the playoffs over him and would have given a better playoff showing. We'll see, but
yeah, but you know what? He, like I said, I think he has a pretty solid tight end. You know, finally after
all right, buddy,
12 of them. But that's a good place to get an advantage.
I'm so inconsistent too, though.
But
put up a 170 1 week and then a 103 the week after.
Yeah, and
like
you know,
Steelers.
I am amazed he only has Cole Beasley from the Cowboys on his team.
He and I were texting on the side. He's convinced that he's in serious trouble because his depth is non-existent. He doesn't think he's gonna go anywhere because if any of those guys go down, he has nothing to plug in.
All right. Next, we have Haley. And, you know, Haley, I will say, you know, you kind of snuck into the playoffs this last week, and I was debating on where I should rank you. And the reason I ranked you higher was because of Mahomes. And he can just go off and absolutely just carry your team.
Yeah, I mean, my lowest week by far was when he was on bye.
Rachel, do you worry at all about KC resting players? I know that's looking a little bit ahead to the future.
I mean, yeah.
I don't know if it would affect us as much, but he would be a candidate. I think he's the only one on your team that's a candidate for. But
I would be much more concerned about Robert Woods resting.
I think it's a lot easier to replace a wide receiver that she doesn't even have a backup quarterback.
True.
Well,
I don't.
I take that back, Lamar.
Say, yeah.
I will go back though with Andy Reid, and he's rested players in the past, and he's found that it hasn't always worked out for him.
Right. So, who's been the biggest surprise for you this year outside of Mahomes?
Probably Robert Woods, honestly. Well, in a bad way, shady, but that's.
I was not fishing for that.
David Johnson's been another one that hasn't impressed me as much, but Godwin's actually not super consistent, but he's had a couple of weeks that he's gone off.
Yeah, Woods has been much better than I think anybody would have guessed.
Yeah. How
about Kittle, though? I mean, that dude does not even sound like a football player.
I know. Oh, I mean, he's pretty consistent, 10 to 15 points.
Great. Number 4 tight end. I don't even think I'd heard of him.
You know, it's funny. Right before we drafted, I watched a thing on ESPN about Kittle and Mahomes, and I picked both of them up in almost all my leagues. And well, in 3 of my 4 leagues, and 3 of my 4 leagues, I'm making the playoffs. The only one I'm not making the playoffs, I don't have Kittle or Mahomes in.
Now, are you expecting Marvin Jones to come back?
I mean, probably not, honestly. if he does. I don't even know that I would start him.
I just wonder. I mean, why you're just not using that roster spot?
I heard he was out for the year.
Yeah.
I mean, I heard that they were going to maybe put him on IR, and then they just season ended him or whatever.
Yeah, he is on IR.
Yeah, he is.
That's what I meant to say. I said that wrong, but
Yeah.
that might be a spot for it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got some guys that you could put in though. 4 double-digit guys on your bench. Got some choices.
I mean, your team. You have to be a little bit worried about Johnson, though. I mean, you would have thought he would have had a bigger week last week, and
I mean, worried about him, but I can't justify benching him either.
No, he's still the number 12 back. Chase Edmonds is not going to steal 2 touchdowns every week either. That was weird.
What ranking did you say he was?
David Johnson?
Yeah,
he's number 12.
Okay, I thought you said 4. I'm like, I don't.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
Right. Moving on. Joel comes in at number 4. And, Rachel, maybe you have a point. We've kind of talked about the big 3 all year. And, maybe Joel actually deserves a place up there. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Rodgers going forward.
I think that's just going to be tough.
And it's a big week, and you don't want to really test it out this week. But I don't think she has a choice. Elliott has been past 4 weeks. Has been running very well.
I mean, even in the weeks she's lost this year, she's put up 126, 141, 140, 145. Those were all losses. I mean, her lowest was 118. She's got a good team.
Yeah, she really does. And I want to go back to something you just said, Small. I do think she has a choice to be made with Rodgers. Rivers going against a really crummy Cincinnati team. I know that Rodgers is going against a really crummy Atlanta team, but I don't know if anybody has any idea what's going on in Green Bay.
Yeah, but will she see it that way?
I don't know how she'll see it. I think that she's more of like, what have you done for me lately? And so if she looks and sees Rodgers at a 16 and Rivers at a 26, their projections are very close, but Rivers is projected for a little more.
Rivers also averaged more points a game this year.
Yeah, he's been better. He's a higher rank.
So now here's my question, because I could absolutely see San Diego, how they've been playing, blow out Cincinnati. Would they pull Rivers early?
Maybe. I think it's going to be a harder time to blow them out without Gordon there. I mean, they had to make a major comeback against Pittsburgh the other night.
But, being how they were, Gordon got hurt when they were blowing them out, would they pull him, be a little bit more cautious?
Maybe. Last 2 weeks for Rodgers, though, 13-16.
Yeah, terrible. And, I think if she has Watkins coming back, even against Baltimore, I think that just helps her team to replace AJ.
Yeah, he's been really good this year when he played, and he's obviously missed 3 weeks and then had a bad game against New England, but there's been some games that he's been pretty good. That's not a bad substitute in there.
Yep. All right, moving on. Michael stays at number 3. Actually he has
Uzomah.
Yeah, and I guess he just picked him up this afternoon then.
Yeah, made a move on waivers for Kendrick West, and then within a few hours dropped West right away, pick up Uzomah.
But, he has some tough matchups going on. Goff is playing Chicago. Hill's up against Baltimore. Gus Edwards, who's played well for him, was playing Kansas City, and you kind of wonder if they're going to go away from the run, and he's not involved in the passing game at all.
Yeah, plus I looked down at his bench, and I don't know. There's a couple guys that are okay. Coleman's a weird one. I'm surprised he's actually got him on the bench. And he's running with Wilson, this unknown.
Who looked good.
Looked very good. 20.
But I mean, that's a hard trust to.
That is a flyer, man. I mean, good for the
playoffs.
Yeah, he's got 3 of his players in the Kansas City Baltimore game.
That's a big one. What time's that game? Sunday at 1.
Mm-hmm.
Got Goff going Sunday night.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna look forward to see these matchups. I haven't looked at them very closely, but yeah, good team. Like I think you pointed out, the wide receivers are incredible. 2, 3, 4.
Yeah. So as long as but like I said, they have some tough matchups this week, so we'll see how it goes.
Yep.
All right, Jake is coming in at number 2. You know, I don't like Cousins against Seattle. I don't really like Mixon against the Chargers, and I don't know why he's questionable. Although Michael Thomas did miss practice today. I did hear that, and that looks to be a great matchup against Tampa Bay.
I wouldn't worry about any of those 3 guys. At least not in terms of playing.
Yeah.
The rest of them.
And, you know, I guess this is his lineup unless he makes a move because he doesn't have much more. I think some of his projections are high, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I think the projection is interesting after he looked so bad last week and Justin Jackson looked so good.
Oh. And you know what? I find it funny that he set his lineup.
That doesn't.
Smart. You keep the guys fresh. Can't take the break.
And that goes on to our last team, and I'm on a 2-game losing streak. You know, I tried to have stuff written, and I asked these 2 to write something, and they didn't. So that's why you guys were looking at a blank screen for all this time.
You said if you'd like to add something implies that perhaps you had something there already.
Yeah, I had a losing streak.
The guy goes down 2 games and his rankings really hit the toilet.
Yeah.
And his 2 losses were a 161 and a 151. Okay.
But some big news came out. I saw you made a move to try and counterbalance it. But the James Conner news is pretty big for you. He hasn't been playing great, but he did recover with 26 last week. And now this ankle injury looks to be a lot more serious than we thought.
Yep. Now, so you know what's funny? I almost picked up Samuels instead of Ware. But there was that one game, and it kept on going to Ridley. So I was like,
yeah, I don't think anybody knows. I think you're very happy to be not playing this week so you can see how that sorts out.
Yeah.
You get to avoid against Baltimore. You get to see if maybe Connor comes back or if it's Samuels.
But, you know, right now, honestly, I can just slide James White into my lineup.
Sure. Listen, depth, talent, no arguments. I don't know. I wonder. I wonder about a guy who can't seem to win a game at the end of the year.
Yeah. All right. So now let's have some fun. All right. So top scores of the week. I put up the top score of the week 5 times. Michael put it up twice. Scarano put it up twice. Jake once, Casey once, Rachel once, Angela once.
Keep scrolling down.
That's it. I thought that was an interesting breakdown.
I don't think any of that's too surprising. Maybe the Scarano thing is a little surprising, but
yeah, I mean, I kind of thought Jake had put it up a top score other than one time.
I'm actually surprised Joel hasn't been up there for being the 4th ranked team.
And honestly, I had forgotten that Casey put up the top score.
I think that's probably a typo.
Now, if we look at when you were a top 4 score of the week, I was a top 4 score of the week all 13 weeks.
Every week.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's the only reason he put that stat on here.
No.
Yeah, that is around. Oh, top 4. It was top 3 until you did the math, and we are like, well, I'm not in there every time.
Michael was in there 8 times. Jake was in there 8 times. So
there you go.
consistently been our top 3 teams all year. But then we have Joel 5 times, Casey 4 times. So those are all playoff teams. And then we go JT 3 times, Scarano twice, Rachel twice, Angela twice, Rich twice, Colin once, Brian once. And you know what's interesting just looking at this now?
That I made the list.
No, but Scarano put the top score up twice, and he was only in the top 4 twice. So that means when he didn't put up the top score, he wasn't in the top 4.
Yeah, I mean, he was so hit or miss with Julio and combo of Ridley. Like we said about somebody earlier, they couldn't put it together on the same week. Toronto had a lot of that too.
Yeah, so interesting.
That was interesting. I liked it.
Ranking breakdown. So it says Mike, but actually Rachel did the rankings for Mike this week because of the day drinking. And I've also compared them to the preseason. You know, JT, we had you ranked 3rd in the preseason. We had Haley ranked 3rd in the preseason. At least one of you made the playoffs.
You know, that's all right. Give me Fournette, and I think I'd be closer to 3rd.
We had Colin ranked number 1, and he's down in 10th.
And Brian ranked number 2.
Well, we had Colin ranked number 1 with a few more players, and Colin and Brian with a few more players. Very few of them ended up making any games played. Bell and McKinnon never played for either one of them. They're first-round picks.
And then we had Michael Thomas ranked 12th. And Jake ranked 9th.
Sgrano mentions it all the time, but Michael Thomas is probably our most active, diligent, and successful waiver wire player on a whole. There's a lot of people that are good at it.
I don't know how he drops so many like he it seems like he drops like 3 or 4 players every week.
Works for him.
Yeah, whatever he does, I wish I knew how to do it.
Maybe he'll offer a class this summer.
Very good.
All right.
So by the way, can we quickly go back to that?
What?
We quickly go back. I'd just like to take note that I ranked you 2nd.
Yeah, I noticed.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that was on the record. It's an audio format when I listen to the podcast.
And my biggest regret of this entire fantasy season is that you did not make the playoffs, so I don't have an opportunity to crush you. But if ESPN like it's been going, I will play you week 1, and I'm just going to beat you week 1.
No, I'll tell you what, there's going to be some changes. And we'll play next year, I'm sure. But this is going to be a contentious winter meeting. It's probably going to be next year. It's going to be like robots playing against each other. It's going to be intense tomorrow. We're going to have some big changes.
All right. And these are the final standings. Like you said, Angela snuck into 10th place.
That hurts to look at for me.
And there you are in 5th place and not making the playoffs.
5th place by losing 2 tiebreakers. That's like just one of those tiebreakers.
Yep. All right, and these are our points scored, points against, home and away record. Nothing too exciting there, so let's go on to our next slide. Point differentials.
Nice.
So I put up the top score with 2,215.2 points.
Wow.
Michael scored 232.3 points less, or 17.8 points per week less than I did.
That's astounding, Tamal. I hate giving you credit, but that's crazy. You start looking at the differentials as you drop down. There's not many times that it's an 18-point gap.
And Brian, I'm sorry. I know you're right there listening.
Listening, crying.
So painful.
And yeah, that was 52.7 points per week. Now, what's interesting about this is the difference in point scores. The least amount difference in point scores is 232 points. When we look at points against, our largest points against difference is 235.7 points. So Brian had the most points against him with 1,863.6 points. Joel was just 11.4 points less than that at 0.8 per week. Tamala, it was 24.5 points. I thought I broke it down per week on all of these, but I guess I didn't.
There wasn't going to be much of a difference, but that's crazy that there was so little points against difference, but yet such a higher points for difference.
But you know what? At the beginning of the year, you had a huge points against, and that was one of your things that you kept on bringing up with the rankings about. Let me just point it out. I have all these points against me. And
I think that was the point that something changed. I think I played somebody one week that put up like a 70. So
yeah, but just interesting how that worked out.
Earlier I didn't deserve to make it, and this is probably your number one argument against me making the playoffs.
All right, and this is our playoff standings. Jake and I have the bye. Joel against Casey and Rachel against Michael.
Yeah, and notice you can't change what the seed says, even though I was able to put them into the matchup. So Joel is actually not the 6, he's the 5, and Rachel's not the 9, she's the 6.
All right. So Rachel,
we were able to do that, by the way. We assumed we could do that, but we'd never done that. We didn't.
Like leading up, I was like, "Are we gonna need to like manually?"
I just pictured somebody with like an abacus. It's a testing accommodation. The Kramer abacus.
There you go.
All right, Rachel. Whose matchup do you want to talk about first? Yours against Michael or Joel against Casey?
Let's do Joel against Casey first.
Okay, so right now, how lineups are set. Casey's projected with a 132.8 and Joel's projected with a 123.3. However, Joel needs to make a move for AJ Green, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she'll definitely make a move, but it'll be probably Saturday or Sunday.
See, I'm looking at Casey's team. He has Big Ben and Juju going up against Oakland, which is a nice matchup. Kamara's going up against Tampa Bay. Nice matchup.
Yeah, he's got a couple nice matchups. I think he's putting a lot of stake in Justin Jackson's good second half.
Yeah, I still think that's going to be Eckler's job.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you look at his bench. Who do you like more than that? Is it Moncrief?
No, I mean, I think there's some other players on the waiver wire.
I know we joked about it earlier that Scriano made a move for a kicker. But I was happy to see that essentially all of those people that were out of the playoffs didn't touch anybody. I think that's the way it should be.
I'm on it.
I think that's a general courtesy, unless it involves Casey, and I think anything's fair game.
Yeah. And you know what? Casey does have 2 kickers on his team right now, so you never know. He might be trying for the 3rd. And I guess Joelle's, I mean, she has the big. Does she play Rivers? Does she play Rodgers? Rivers is actually projected for more.
Whichever one I think she should play, I should advocate strongly for the opposite of that, and then that's the move she'll make.
Yeah, I mean, I like her team. I think she has a good chance to take down Casey, but
Gonna be close.
You just never know with Pittsburgh, and it's those late games. It's the 4:25 game.
Yep, and I look at Casey's got one guy Thursday, one guy Monday, and Joel has one guy Sunday night.
Well, Joel has Sunday night or late Sunday too.
Cohen. So even if she, I guess the only other thing is if she decided to make a Deion Lewis move, she'd have to do that tomorrow.
That'd be awesome. They're tied going into Monday night, and then Seattle gets a -1.
That would be pretty great.
I would enjoy that.
All right, so let's make predictions.
I think Joelle takes this one. I think that she ends up making the good choice, the right choice with the quarterback, and she subs in Watkins. And
I think she's had a better team all year, so I'm going to go with Joelle as well.
Yep, same.
Nice.
All right. And that brings us to
Well endorsed you.
That brings us to Rachel taking on the Michael Thomas. Rachel's projected with a 150.4 to Michael Thomas's 141.7.
That's a high projection. Both of them.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like I said, I think Michael's got some real tough matchups. Goff playing the Chicago. That's tough. Hill against Baltimore. Edwards against Kansas City, and Wilson going up against Denver. None of those matchups I really care for. Not saying I wouldn't be playing those players because you play your players.
Yeah. He's got, let's see, Goff Sunday night. Rachel has Woods to counterbalance that a little bit.
Neither of us have anyone.
I mean, the only other thing is Titans D. Yeah. Not a lot. Is there no Monday night game or something? What's going on?
It's Seattle, but
is it
Minnesota?
Oh, you guys just don't have anybody with that. That's right. Okay. Well, could put him in there. He's looked pretty good. He's always seems to catch a bomb. I'm surprised you don't have him in.
A shady Tyler Lockett coin flip on Sunday.
Yeah, I know Minnesota's got a good D, but I'm looking at it. He's had a really good year. He doesn't catch a ton of passes, but he always seems to catch a touchdown. Got 9 this year. 9 touchdowns. Freaking Tyler Lockett.
I benched Shady 1 week this year, and it was the 1 week he went off this year, and I feel like it would.
He only has 2 touchdowns on the year, and you happen to bench him that week.
Yeah. Lovely.
That's awesome.
I mean, again, you probably don't want to be involved with that game just because of the unknown, but you could even think about putting Graham. He had 10 catches, 9 catches last week?
Yeah, he had 8 for 50. I don't know. He's scared. I would be hard pressed to bench Lockett. They're home. I don't think Minnesota's defense has been, as dominant away from home. They're good. There's no doubt about it. But
you know what?
Lockett's just been solid. 9 touchdowns, man. I can't get over that.
I mean, Shady would be the only logical one for me to take out.
Agreed. Yeah, I don't think there's anybody else you take out.
So there, yeah. All right. I'm going to go with the better quarterback, so I'm going to go with Mahomes. So I'm rolling with you, Haley.
All right. Hopefully it pays off.
And I know Michael Thomas is going to take this as a personal insult. We're probably going to get something on the group chat when he listens to this. I'm sorry, Michael. Most week, look, you're projected for a big score. I don't think with your matchups this week, I think you're going to be a little bit under your projections.
I think so much of it comes down to what those 2 flex spots do. He's going to get some good scores from Brown, Adams, and Hill. And maybe at least 2 of them still perform. I think Edwards and Wilson are going to be big. I like going with Haley there. It's gonna be really close though. Neither one of these matchups seems to be lopsided in any way.
No, they're all close.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going back and forth between these teams. A lot of good players. It's a tough call there, Rich. I'd be happy to be in the playoffs trying to make it, but I'm glad I don't have to. I mean, with your loyalties to McCoy,
All right. Do we want to go over any of the consolation round?
No.
Do we want to go over a hypothetical matchup against me against Jake?
I can't think of anything less I'd rather do.
All right, Jake. If you want to hop on the group chat that you're not a part of, feel free.
You know what I do want to say though. You know, Brian brought it up. I strongly, really like the idea of keeping everyone else involved by making the trophy person be dictated by the consolation. The twist to that we realized tonight is that would suddenly bring the waiver wire into play for everybody.
I think that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you're still playing to win the game.
Okay. I'm fine with that. That's just something we just said, hey, you know, common courtesy, don't pick people up. And now that would obviously change.
Yeah. I mean, I think that makes it. I think just because you're down to 2 teams, if you have a major injury, give everyone a chance for that player. Like, why should it automatically default to the next guy up?
Yep, fair enough. I do like that idea though, in terms of keeping people going. And I know that I've gone to open my roster about 9 times already this week, and then I just end up sadly staring at my phone, remembering that I'm not playing, and that would at least go away.
All right. So that wraps up our preview of the playoffs, week 1.
Yep.
We're glad Haley was able to join us. Haley, do you have a hot take?
Oh, I did not prepare one.
I prepared a cold take.
You got a cold take?
I do. It's not hot.
All right. Let's hear the
It's
cold.
cold. Yeah. I know that we just mentioned that Haley was joining us here, but for anyone who isn't paying attention to our group chat, the reason Haley's joining us is that Scarano has joined the club of fatherhood. He is, for the first time in his life, happy to hear the words, "You are the father." And he's really, kind of been a little nervous about it, as Mike can be. But I'm personally extremely happy for him. Just seeing that photo of him smiling last night was pretty awesome. And, I think he's going to be a really good dad. And I hope that his kid gets to hear this and find out that the first thing that he did in this world was find out his dad didn't make the playoffs. I'd also like to just reiterate Brian's wonderful point about the fact that a couple of us may have been a little more worried about Jess than others on Sunday, thinking that perhaps, we didn't know where she was, needed to pay a little more attention. And then mere 2 days later, she was in labor. But we're really happy for you, buddy. Congrats on Vincent joining our world. I'm looking forward to him figuring out what it's like to owe me a lunch.
Cuzzy.
Yeah, he can make the mason jar now.
He is absolutely invited, and I will be expecting him to pick up the tab.
There we go. All right, guys. This has been the Fantasy Trail. I hope you guys enjoyed. Good luck if you're playing, and if you're like JT and not playing. Sorry, you've probably stopped watching this anyway. And we'll see you next week.
Later.
Bye.